have to change some settings, but you're good to get started.
Excuse me.
I have to change a few settings, but you're good to start the meeting.
Good evening. My name is Gary Darnell. I'm a City of Salem hearings official. For the record, it's about 5:32 the evening of May 28th. Now is the time for two public hearings. The first hearing concerns a consolidated application for a conditional use permit, a tentative partition plan, and a Class 3 site plan review for a residential care facility at 325 Lancaster Drive Southeast. The applicant is Community First Solutions LLC, and this is case number CU-PAR-SPR 25-02. The second hearing also concerns a consolidated application, this time for a conditional use permit, a tentative partition plan, a Class 3 site plan review, and a Class 2 adjustment for a drive-through oil change business at 3271 Lancaster Drive Northeast. The applicant in this matter is CVP-Lancaster T5 LLC. This is case number CU-PAR-SPR ADJ 25-03. Staff will provide a summary of the approval criteria when they present their staff report. I'd like to take this opportunity to discuss a little bit about the rules that apply to these hearings. The hearings can be characterized as being quasi-judicial and de novo. By quasi-judicial, that means there are certain due process rights that attach to the hearing procedure: the right to testify, the right to an impartial decision maker, the right to a final decision in writing that addresses findings of fact and conclusions of law. De novo means that any new evidence that's relevant and material to the approval criteria will be considered by the hearings official. The rules of evidence that we follow are not as rigid as you'll see in circuit court. Basically, I can accept evidence of a standard that a reasonable person would use in the conduct of their daily affairs. I do exclude testimony that's argumentative, immaterial, not relevant, or redundant, and you may object to testimony of that sort as well. It's important to note that you need to raise procedural or substantive issues at this stage of the proceedings, or if my decision is appealed to the Salem Planning Commission before the Planning Commission. If you do not raise those issues at either of those two venues, you'll be unable to raise them before the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals on appeal. The burden of proof is carried by the applicant to show by a preponderance of the evidence that all the approval criteria have been met or can be met through conditions of approval. The record in this matter consists of the application and supporting materials, the staff report, and any supporting materials submitted by the city, testimony, either written or oral, that I received today. By statute, you have the right to request that the record be held open 7 days. You don't have to give any reason for that request. You just need to make the request before the hearing closes. You also have the right to request a continuance of the hearing. That's discretionary with the hearings official. You have to show that merely holding the record open isn't sufficient to address what issues that you're concerned about. Testimony we receive is electronically recorded. As Zach said, use the podium at the east end of the room when you testify. First, give your name and spell your last name for the record. And again, we have sign-up sheets in the back. In terms of the order of testimony, we begin with the staff presentation for each hearing. Following that, others who wish to testify in support of the application. Well, the applicant may testify, and then those in favor of the application may testify. Following that testimony, if there's any representatives from the neighborhood association, they'll have an opportunity to testify. Following that, we accept testimony from parties that are interested in testifying that would rather not declare as being in favor of or opposed to the application. And then finally, there'll be an opportunity for those who wish to testify in opposition. Following all of that testimony, I'll ask staff to address any issues or questions that might have been raised. And then there'll be an opportunity for final summary or rebuttal by the applicant. As I indicated, my decisions can be appealed to the Salem Planning Commission. You have 15 days to effect that appeal from the date of its mailing. The appeal before the Planning Commission is de novo, which means you're free to raise any new issues or present new evidence that wasn't presented before the hearing's official. The Salem Code requires that the decision maker be impartial, have no ex-parte contacts or conflicts of interest. Conflict of interest is where the decision maker or his or her family or business that they're associated would financially benefit or suffer from the decision. An ex-parte contact is a communication that occurs outside this public venue that goes to the substance or substantive issues of a matter that the decision maker is hearing. And sometimes you can't prevent those. The solution to address those is to declare the conflict and address whether or not it has made you partial, basically, and you'll have to step down. Let me take this opportunity to indicate that I've had no ex-parte contacts, nor do I have any actual or potential conflicts of interest to declare. At this time, parties may challenge my impartiality, and you may also challenge the jurisdiction of the hearings officials to hear these matters. You reserve the right to challenge my impartiality at any stage of the proceedings. Hearing no challenges, I'd like to turn to staff and then staff report for the first hearing.
Great, thanks.
The top of that menu. All pass.
Sorry, is that?
Up.
Oh.
Up, there you go.
All right. Everything look on that end?
Yep.
All right. Well, with that, we'll get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Quincy Miller. I'm with the City of Salem. I'm a planner, and I'm here to talk about the conditional use, partition, and site plan review, CUPAR, SPR 2502, or 325 Lancaster Drive Southeast. And to start things off, I request this presentation and staff report be entered into the record, subject to the approval criteria of SRC 240.005D, SRC 205.005D, and SRC 220.005F.
Accepted.
All right. So this is a consolidated application, including 3 different parts. So this is a conditional use permit to establish a residential care facility, which is required in the CG, General Commercial Zone. It is a partition tentative plan to locate both phase 1 and 2 of the development on the separate properties. Currently, phase 1 is under development on the single property, and this partition will be dividing it into 2. So phase 1 and phase 2 are on separate parcels. And the Class 3 site plan review is for the site improvements and development for the phase 2. So this is an overview of the comprehensive plan and the area of the subject property. So you can see that it is within the commercial designation of the comprehensive plan, surrounded by some single-family residential uses within Marion County, along with some other commercial and higher density residential within Marion County, along with some industrial uses on the western side of I-5. This is a little bit more zoomed in, showing the subject property and the related zoning. You can see the grayed out areas are within Marion County's jurisdiction, and so they are not included in our Salem zoning map. However, these are the other general commercial properties, along with the other retail commercial property and the public service property to the northwest, which is the high school. So the proposed development in this case is an approximately 11,000 square foot, 16-room residential care facility, which is being operated by Oregon Community First Solutions. And Oregon Community First Solutions, they specialize in secure residential treatment facilities, which offer a variety of treatments and offer a lot of services to a variety of users. So in this case, this is, as the proposed development with the proposed parcels 1 and 2, looking over the partition criteria, the under construction development on proposed parcel 2 for phase 1 was seen to be meeting all applicable setback rules. The proposed development for phase 2 was also analyzed to meet setback rules, and the resultant parcels were analyzed to be meeting the applicable lot area dimensions and standards. Let's see. So this is the conditional use approval criteria as it is in the code. So it's, the first one is to be if it's allowed as conditional use in the CG zone, which it is according to the use table within the general commercial zone chapter. And the other two are for the reasonable likely adverse impacts on the immediate neighborhood, and if the proposed use will be reasonably compatible with and a minimal impact on the surrounding properties. So as I kind of looked at for the previous maps, you can see that there's a wide variety of uses, whether on the comprehensive plan or on the zoning map. There is a variety of commercial uses. There's some low and high density residential uses, as well as some other commercial properties in the vicinity. So as part of this, this is the phase 2 of this development. So, in addition to the existing retail and commercial and public service uses, phase 1 of this property was previously approved in case number CU SPR ADJ 2402. And so this phase 2 of development will be located directly adjacent to the previously approved residential care facility. So this is a closer look at the proposed site plan for the phase 2 of development. So part of the approval criteria for the conditional use permit was minimizing the impact on the adjacent uses. To the north is the single family residential uses, and as part of the zoning code, there is a minimum a side skirting fence is required as part of the code, but it was also required as a condition of development in the previous site plan approval. And so along with that, there is additional landscaping that is present along the property lines and along the whole perimeter of the site, which also helps minimize any potential impacts from the residential care facility. So during this process, there was some support from the Southeast Salem Neighborhood Association, CESNA, in support of the application. We did not receive any other public comments from members of the public or from other public agencies. And with that, through our analysis and through the recommended conditions of approval, staff recommends that the conditional use permit and the partition plan and site plan review be approved.
One question,
Yes.
In terms of the conditional use permit, the compatibility standard,
Yes.
that works both ways, as I understand it. In your opinion, are there any existing uses that would have uses that are incompatible with a residential care facility in terms of noise or odor or anything like that?
In this case, I would say no. So to the southwest is the CarMax facility, which is, has a variety of people coming in and out to come and look at cars for different retail uses. To the south there is the movie theater, which also is a, retail facility that has a lot of people coming in and out. There's also a bar and restaurant located on the northeast over there. And then, to minimize any impacts to the residential uses, that's why we have the landscaping and side skirting fences. So it would seem that it would, this use along with the previously approved phase 1 of the project would not have any adverse impact.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right.
It's on the, I'll open it.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to hear from the applicant representative who's already there.
Hello, my name is Hillary Harris. Can you hear me okay?
The microphone doesn't work, so.
Oh, that makes it easier. Hi. My name is Hillary Harris. I'm a senior planner at HHPR. My last name is Harris, and my address is 205 Southeast Spokane Street, Suite 200, Portland, Oregon, 97211. And I am here representing the property owner in their land use application for the construction of a residential care facility on Lancaster Drive. So Oregon Community First Solutions partners with local and state governments to solve community problems throughout the state of Oregon. And a big part of this is building secure residential care facilities that provide mental health programs in a safe and secure environment. So a lot of this I'll go through briefly because Quincy was pretty elaborate in his presentation. It's located here, right off of Lancaster. There's a private street that runs on the south of the site, and it is surrounded by a mix of uses and zones. In addition to these surrounding existing uses, this is what was approved through the previous land use applications. You can just see the residential care facility that's under construction on the east side of this site right there. And with this application, we are proposing a very similar facility in size. It's just over 11,000 square feet. And it'll be 16 beds, which is the same as the previously approved residential care facility. 19 parking spaces, utility connections, either through the south easement or through an existing northern utility easement, and then a fire turnaround. And then this is what it would look like full build out of the proposed residential care facility on the left, on the west side, and then the existing one on the right side. I won't go through all of the ways that we are meeting because a lot of the submittal items were showing approval criteria for design and development standards. But if you have any questions specifically after this, happy to answer those on setbacks or building height. Conditional use permit. It is a conditional use listed in table 523 as a residential care facility. One of the approval criteria is to mitigate adverse impacts and minimize them around the adjacent properties. And so, as mentioned, we're providing a lot of tree planting around there, and we've tried to pull the building as far south and east as possible to have it away from the existing residential uses to the north. And then, as mentioned, there's quite a hodgepodge of uses, a movie theater, a CarMax, a high school, auto zone, residential, or single family residential, and then the approved residential care facility as well. And then this is the partition plan. So on the east side is parcel 2, which was phase 1 of the project, which is what was approved. And then the blue is where the new residential care facility would be located. The site is kind of surrounded by already built out uses. So there isn't any anticipated like impeding of future build out or redevelopment of areas. And a utility plan has been provided. So all city infrastructure, either through the private street or through utilities, can be serving the site as shown. And then the applicant team doesn't have any issues with the staff conditions of approval, and I'm available for questions if you have any.
I don't have any at this time.
Thank you. Does anyone else? Do you want me to exit out?
Okay.
There are others who wish to testify in support of the application. Are there any representatives from neighborhood association? Does anyone merely wish to ask a question or make a statement, but would rather not be identified as being opposed or in favor of the application? Finally, is anyone in the audience who wishes to testify in opposition? Staff have any comments, final comments? Any rebuttal? Hearing no rebuttal, I will close the public hearing. Compliment staff on the very thorough staff report. It took me a long time to get through it. And based on the staff report and the application materials, I intend to approve the application no later than the end of next week. It's gonna take me that long just to what. Okay, thank you. Let's go into the next hearing. For the record, I'm opening the hearing on CUPAR SPR ADJ 2503.
Okay. Hello, I'm Peter Dominey, Planner 2 with Plan Division for the City of Salem. I would like to enter into the record the staff report, all attachments, and this presentation for tentative partition plan, conditional use permit, class 3 site plan review, and class 2 adjustment case number 25-03 for 3271 Lancaster Drive Northeast. The applicable criteria is SRC 240.005A, SRC 205.005D, SRC 220.005F, and SRC 250.005D. The applicant, CVP Lancaster T5, represented by Ryan Ramey, is requesting a conditional use permit to establish a new motor vehicle services use for a drive-through oil change facility on a vacant lot. The proposal includes a tentative partition plan to divide the property into 2 lots and a class 3 site plan review to develop the new building and associated site improvements on one of the lots. The request also includes 2 class 2 adjustments to exceed the maximum off-street parking spaces allowed and to reduce the size of the trash enclosure opening. The development site is a vacant parcel, 0.64 acres in size, and is within the urban service area on the border of city limits, with the hatched area being Marion County. The site has frontage and access off of Lancaster Drive. Here's an aerial image of the development site, the vacant lot there, and the surrounding area. The green outline is the city limits. This is also a street view of the property looking west from Lancaster Drive. On the bottom from 2014, the property was previously developed with some small mixed commercial buildings, which were demolished in 2015. and has been vacant ever since. The apartment complex to the west of it was developed in 2016. The property has comprehensive plan map designation of commercial and is zone CR, shown here in red. To the west are also properties within the city zoned CR, and immediately adjacent to the north and south and all across Lancaster Drive are all properties within Marion County, most of which are also zoned commercial retail as well. The CR zone generally allows a variety of retail and office uses. Properties along Lancaster Drive are predominantly commercial or mixed and are widely developed with shopping centers, restaurants, and office complexes. The proposal includes a tentative partition plan to divide the property into two lots labeled Lot A to the north and at 13,359 square feet, and Lot B on the south at 14,331 square feet in size, with the development of the drive-through oil change facility on Lot A to the north. The two lots will share an access easement from an existing driveway onto Lancaster Drive. The proposal meets all lot standards for applicable dimensions.
The access is basically dividing line between the two partitions, is that?
Yes, there's an existing driveway approach from the old development that's still there out here, and the two lots will share an access easement onto that driveway approach.
So the property is on the west side of Lancaster, right?
Correct.
Okay, your staff report has it.
The site plan review process is intended to ensure that any new development, including the establishment of a new use on a property, complies with the development standards of the zoning code. In general, standards include maximum building height and lot coverage allowances, setbacks, off-street parking standards, and landscaping requirements. The site plan review is primarily to establish and develop a new building and vehicle use area to accommodate the proposed drive-through oil change facility. The proposed development complies with all site plan review criteria, with the exception of the amount of off-street parking and size of the trash enclosure gate, for which the applicant has requested 2 Class 2 adjustments. The maximum allowed off-street parking for a motor vehicle services use is 1 per 600 square feet of the building's floor area. The proposed building is 1,738 square feet, permitting a maximum of 3 off-street parking spaces. The applicant indicates that the oil change facility will regularly have 5 to 6 employees working on site per shift, and the 3 spaces is not enough to serve the facility. The oil change facility is a drive-through type where customers will remain in their vehicles while being serviced. As such, the parking spaces are primarily intended for the employees. Allowing the additional parking spaces will help prevent overflow parking onto other properties, and staff finds the requested adjustment equally meets the intent of the standards. The applicant has also requested a second adjustment to reduce the size of the trash enclosure opening from the minimum of 12 feet to 9 feet in width. The applicant indicates the reduced enclosure size is necessary to accommodate the required amount of green stormwater infrastructure on the site, and that the limited waste generated by the motor vehicle services use will only require a trash receptacle of 1 cubic yard, which is small enough for the trash service provider to manually maneuver it outside of the enclosure for pickup. The applicant has provided communication with the solid waste service provider, who have indicated no concerns with the reduction. As such, staff is in support of the adjustment. With the recommended conditions of approval in the staff report relating to right-of-way dedication and infrastructure, staff finds that the application is in compliance with the approval criteria for the site plan review. The proposed drive-through oil change facility is classified as a motor vehicle services use, which, aside from gasoline service stations, requires a conditional use permit in the CR zone. As found in the staff report, the proposed drive-through facility will have minimal adverse impacts on the immediate neighborhood, and the use will be reasonably compatible and have minimal impact on the livability of the surrounding properties. No concerns were raised from public agencies. Notice of the application and public hearing was provided to the North Lancaster Neighborhood Association and surrounding property owners and tenants, and no comments were received. Staff recommends that the hearings officer approve the conditional use permit and site plan review collective application, subject to the recommended conditions of approval, that the applicant shall plant evergreen or conifer trees of 5 plant units each, which will be 6 to 8 feet tall at the time of planting along the west property line setback. That there shall be no outdoor storage of vehicles or parts on the site, and no parking spaces shall be used for the service of vehicles. And that normal hours of operation shall be limited to between 7 AM and 7 PM. That presentation is concluded.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
questions?
No questions. Hear from the applicant's representative this time.
Good evening, my name is Ryan Ramey, last name is spelled R-A-M as in Mary, E-Y. Address is 2188 Southwest Park Place, Suite 100, Portland, Oregon 9705. I am the applicant, developer, and operator. We will be running the Take 5 business as well. We look forward to being part of the community, creating jobs, and are committed to running a clean, safe, and professional business. Do you just want to ask if you had any questions for us?
Yeah, could you describe the traffic pattern inside? I assume the client comes in on the south, the easement,
Mhm.
goes north to the north end of the structure, then enters one of the 3 bays.
Yes. Yeah, so they'll come in off Lancaster, drive to the back of the lot. They will enter the building facing Lancaster.
Okay,
They'll receive their customer service. We do oil change, filters, and windshield wipers, very, very small offering. And then customer will exit and then back through the
same
front
driveway.
side.
Do you have other facilities in Oregon?
This will be our first one.
Okay. Have any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
There are others who wish to testify in support of the application? Are there any representatives from the neighborhood organization? Anybody who just wishes to testify, ask a question? Anybody wish to testify in opposition? Any final staff comments? Nothing to rebut, I'm sorry. With that, I'll close the hearing. Again, the staff report was very thorough. And I've looked at landscaping plan and traffic plan. Everything seems above board, so this stage of the proceedings, it's my intent to approve the application next week. Sometimes when I'm going through the nitty gritty, I have issues that I'm hopeful that I won't this time. So thank you. There's no further business. The hearing's official. Close the public hearings. Thank you all for your attendance.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, that was fast.
That was fast.